Welcome to this week's episode. Today I'm going to be going over why tool trucks are pretty much a scam for the most part. I will be explaining the reasoning why towards the end of this video, because first I want to give you guys, the newer technicians coming into the field, a more budget-friendly option if this is something you want to get started into, because you never know. A year down the road you might not want to do it, and these options I'm going to provide you is going to be the best way to kind of get in, get your feet wet, and fill it out. Now, before kicking off in this video, I do want to mention that I do have my website up. It's in the description down below, and this is what I have right now. These are going to be selling for a limited time only, so I'm only going to be doing about 3 months run with them. First, I'd like to thank everybody returning to the channel here. If you've been following, I really appreciate you guys. Your support helps a lot. And for you new guys coming into the channel, checking it out, hi. This is a little mini series that we're doing, or I'm doing, on a passionate topic, but most of my other content is building stuff, doing race car stuff, tips and tricks, stuff like that that we do here on the channel. So if you like to see stuff like that, maybe consider subscribing to the channel so you can stay up to date on those videos. Now, to give you a better idea before jumping straight into what I want to talk about in this first part in the video, is that a lot of the tools that you are told you need to buy and get, everything like that. Maybe, you know, you're just coming out of school. Maybe you're a lube tech at a dealership and you're thinking about being moved up to the main line and becoming flat rate if you're not flat rate already. Maybe you don't have like maybe you're being told you need like a full tool chest or full tool cart or whatever, full of all these really expensive tools that you see everybody in the shop have. I'm here to tell you that you don't need to. Some people will argue, well, it looks more professional. For the most part, customers don't even come back to the shop. And the other thing too, customers don't really care what tool you're using. All they care about is if their car can get done efficiently and it works. I've mentioned this before, but your most important tool is your brain. That is the best thing you can use when working on cars, is to educate yourself, learn everything you can, and you don't need a tool. You don't need a tool for any of that. The other reason why a budget option is probably the best for you when you're starting out, because I talk about this in an earlier episode in this series. If you go back to the first video in this playlist, that is like the root of a lot of the issues in this industry. So it's not a great idea to just jump into some sort of tool debt through like a tool truck or something like that. Even if you're going to school and you get the 50% off, or whatever the case may be, it's just because you might get in it, you'll start seeing everything firsthand, and you probably be like, well, I don't want to do this anymore, and now I'm stuck because I have $50,000 in tool debt on top of the $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 in student loans, or whatever the case may be, right? Basically, I want to help you guys not chew off more, or not bite off more than you can chew. All right, I have a few tools pulled out right here. This is literally like my everyday use. It's on a smaller scale, of course, for demonstration purposes, but there's a bunch of other stuff that you're going to need, like screwdrivers, pry bars, pliers, stuff like that. Just, that's your everyday use. You're going to use those every day. A multimeter, and for the multimeter, you really don't need to ball out on that right away. You can get by with a cheap little $20 multimeter that you can get at any part store or hardware store or whatever, tool store, I don't know. All I know is I bought mine from Harbor Freight, and then over the years I've upgraded to better ones, and that's pretty much how you do it. What I'm going to be going over today is like your basic set. You're coming out of school, you're moving up from the lube rack, and even if you're an experienced person watching this video, stick around, because at the end of the video I'm going to help you guys out with a list of stuff that could definitely help you even if you're experienced. It's definitely great for the new guys, but if you're an experienced, this could save you a lot of money. So stick around for that. So the first thing I want to bring up is you're going to want deep sockets, both 3/8 and 1/4 inch and 1/2 inch. And same with shorties. Same thing, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, and 3/8. A couple of the differences I'd like to mention is the 3/8, you can see I have a chrome, and then the 1/2 inch I have an impact. As far as your first investment goes, I guess, I highly recommend getting impact graded 1/2 inch sockets. You will more than likely be using impacts with these sockets. These are for, subframe suspension, any big heavy bolt. that you need to take off. You can use chrome, but from my experience, and I've done this a lot, I've broken a lot of my chrome sockets that way in the beginning, just because I was uneducated about the difference between them. So these can handle a lot more torque and power than a chrome can. Next up, you want a good set of hand wrenches. Now, I'm going to explain these very, very briefly. First on the list, I recommend flex head ratchets. These are great for pretty much anything you use them for. And the only other thing I'm going to recommend is make sure they have a high teeth count. So these are the icons. They're a 90 tooth count. It's a 4-degree turning angle to break anything loose. So that's why I like Icon. The 3 major brands I'm going to be talking about here for budget wise is going to be the Icon line at Harbor Freight, Blue Point. You can get them on Amazon. Same with Gear Wrench. Gear Wrench is another brand that is very affordable, good quality tools that you can get for half the price than anything on a tool truck. And the reason why I say for flex heads, you'd want a higher tooth count is because these aren't necessarily made for breaking stuff loose at like a really high torque. So the higher the teeth count, the weaker the gear is. So typically they do break or they can break under a high amount of torque. And that's why I like these for like engine work and stuff like that, because when you go to use them, most things aren't going to be super heavily torqued to the point to where you need like a breaker bar or something like that to break it loose. However, coming to the 70 tooth count on a non-flex head ratchet, it's a better option for breaking stuff loose. The gears in here for the teeth, much stronger than say a 90 tooth or 120 tooth ratchet. And something that I've done over the years, I have never bought a breaker bar. Never needed it. The reason being is exactly what's in my hand right now. I've always done it this way. If I had to break anything loose, I just get something that gives me more leverage and break it loose. Anybody's going to sit there and tell you, oh, that's a waste of time. You're wasting more time. Just grab a breaker bar. If you don't feel like buying a breaker bar, or you have no need to buy a breaker bar or a extended ratchet or whatever, there's no need. And I have worked years in this condition, and I have turned many, many hours, and I have beaten the clock on some other guys. Like, it's just, if you work with what you got and you're smart and you have, you know, these little tips and tricks on them, you're just as efficient as anybody else with another tool. So for this little socket set and everything like that, one thing that I highly recommend is buying like the 300 piece or 400 piece, 500 piece mechanic set. The first set I ever started out with was this fucking fly right in my ear, was this Craftsman set. And I still have, well, most of these Craftsman sockets and everything. They're actually behind the camera right now. I've upgraded over the years, and I've gotten some other stuff. Never bought in Snap-on. I've just bought in other sockets that I've lost or broke. But I started with this Craftsman set for probably the first year, and I've never had any issues with it. It was until later I got my first flex head. This one is brand new looking because I actually just bought another one. Another thing that's a huge misconception that a lot of people will like to just be like, oh, you got to have it. Your tool cart. All my specialty tools, which I'm not going to get into today, I keep it on the shelf. Even when I worked at a dealership, even when I worked at an independent shop or anything like that, I either brought a shelf with me or the shop had a shelf. I just put all my boxes of specialty stuff on it. I mean, like my axle stuff, my axle sockets, diagnostics equipment, pressure tester, all that stuff. Your tool cart is one of the most important things, but you do not need a $20,000 freaking Snap-on tool cart. If your thing is to buy tools and be flashy and that's what your hobby is, you want to have tools, there's nothing wrong with that. I 100% don't judge anybody regardless of what my opinion is on the matter. I came into this field to work and do my job, and that's it. I just want to come work, do my job, go home. Reason being that a lot of people will buy expensive stuff is like here, you know, some of these drawers, they just don't feel great on these cheaper ones, which to me, it never really made a difference. I've slammed these drawers. I beat these drawers up, and I've had no issues. And I've had, I think, this one for a few years now. And 80% of the work I've done is strictly out of this cart. Even if I had to go grab a specialty tool, I just throw it in the box and I make it work, and that's that. So your tool cart, you can literally pick one of these up at Harbor Freight for, I don't know, $250, I think, or maybe they're $300 now. It's fairly cheap. They have a lot of room, and they're actually pretty freaking durable. I've put in a lot of weight on these. I've had full engine rebuilds completely underneath here and still roll the cart around. It can hold the weight. And if you're in a situation to where you actually need a bigger box, there's much cheaper options that you can get with the same quality as like a Snap-on box or something like that, because Home Depot has the Huskies. I can't tell you how many times I've been in this field and I see so many people with those boxes. I actually really enjoy the Husky box. There's been a couple places I've been at where a lot of the technicians there have that same Husky box. I'm a huge Milwaukee fanboy. Milwaukee has the same box. It's just branded Milwaukee. And I really want to buy it, but I don't need it yet. So I 100% don't need a bigger box quite yet. So for now, we're still working with this and just throwing stuff on the shelf. All right, and the last thing here on the list is super important, and it actually ties into why I believe tool trucks are scams nowadays, and that is your power tools. Now, your power tools is everything in this field, because you can't be using something you can't trust. And a perfect example, actually, here. When I first started, I bought this brand off of Amazon, and they're great for what they are, probably home projects and stuff like that. In a professional setting, I don't recommend it. I had both an electric ratchet in that brand and an impact, and both failed on me. The ratchet broke. The impact wasn't strong enough to really torque anything down like it said it could. Now, when you're flat rate, time is of the essence, so to speak. So yeah, you're going to want something that you can trust. You can just hammer on there, you know it's going to be good, no worries afterwards, move on. And for that reason, I will not recommend any cheap tools, cheap power tools, I guess, to anybody. That is something I would highly consider you buy at a somewhat pretty decent price. Now, I'm a huge Milwaukee fanboy for that reason. As you can see, all the tools I have laid out here are Milwaukee. All my other power tools are Milwaukee. Aside from the appearance, because I love the red and black, that's kind of one of my favorite colors, like that goes well together. But they are actually really good tools, really good power tools that they make. One being this high torque impact. This is a big one. This is probably the first power tool you should buy. If you have the extra, these are like $400. And all of this that I'm explaining to you guys, it's all going to be in the description below through Amazon links. So you can pick them up today if you want to. I'm going to have everything laid out. It's going to be a whole shopping list of everything you need, from your hand tools to the pliers to the wrenches and stuff like that, of exactly what I've been using for the last 5 years in this profession. This is definitely the first thing you want to buy as far as power tools go, because this is a lifesaver. And it's just a high torque. It's like, I don't know, I don't remember the actual rating. I think it was like 400 foot-pounds of torque, and it's got different settings, so you can do smaller or you can go up to 3, and it's a lot better. I personally like impact drivers. I clearly have a wire brush on here right now, but impact drivers are my favorites to use, rather than just a standard impact 3/8 impact, stuff like that. This is rated up to 80 foot-pounds of torque. Plenty good if you're just doing, engine work or the small. I've actually used this on a lot of suspension work too. But the reason why I like impact drivers over a standard impact is because it kind of the multi-tool purpose of it. As you can see, I got the wire brush on there, so it's great for cleaning up gaskets and cleaning up other parts that are getting RTV'd or anything like that. And then I can put a 3/8 bit on it, and now I have something to secure the fasteners and whatnot with. Only downfall I've had with this particular, or I guess in general with impact drivers, is that the bits do break. So you will, but they, at least with this Milwaukee one, I've never had them break within a few months. It's always been, I think I break 1 or 2 a year, and they're like $3 a piece, so it's really not hurting the bank at all. But that's just the drawback on that. So they work great for the multi-use purpose. They work good in almost every situation, but you could get a 3/8 impact, which would be even better, because then you wouldn't have to worry about any bits breaking. And the last thing is a really good electric ratchet. This is the last thing I would buy, I would get these two impacts first, these two types of impacts first, and then I would get a good electric ratchet. The one that I have is a higher torque ratchet, so it's slower, but it has more torque. They have other ones depending on what you feel like you need. If you need one that's faster, Milwaukee does actually make a really fast one, but the torque isn't as high. But I like to have torque and leverage over speed. Those torque and leverage is going to be the most important thing when it comes to working on cars. And now this brings me to the last thing about why stuff like Snap-on is a scam to me. They do make some great tools. They do have some tools that they still make here in the US. However, when it comes to electric or power tools, stuff like that, they're all made out of the country. They're all manufactured out of country. Milwaukee, same with Milwaukee. These are still manufactured out of the country nowadays. Any power tool you buy, for the most part, I don't think a single one, at least from the research I've done, not a single one is manufactured in the US anymore. Hand tools is a different story, but over the years, Snap-on, when they started in 1920 in Milwaukee, they were one of the only tool manufacturer for many, many, many years, up until what you see now, where you have Milwaukee, you have Gear Wrench, you have all these Amazon brands, you have Icon, that are all made in the US just like Snap-on. And in fact, a lot of the quality is identical, if not the same nowadays. So not only does these tool trucks, they don't really have a grip on their quality, or it's still good quality, but they don't have they're not leading anymore. Everything else being made is being made right under them at the same level as them, and they're being sold cheaper because they can. And down below in the description as well, everything is down there. I have a link to a forum that literally has every single counterpart of every single hand tool from, I went through it. I'm pretty sure it's every single tool truck. So you have Mac, Cornwell, Snap-on, and they all have the part numbers and then the counterpart tools that are the same quality that are literally half the price. And so you just copy and paste that in Amazon or Google or whatever, and it'll bring up that other particular tool that is the same as a Snap-on tool, for example, but of course for half the price. So is some helpful information for you guys. So if you are looking for tools and maybe you don't want to get, the Harbor Freight tools, I say stay away from Pittsburgh. 100% stay away from Pittsburgh. Only go with the Icon line. But maybe you want, I don't know. It's a preference thing to most people, I guess. But you also don't want to break the bank and go into debt, because that's stupid. So that list, that link to that list on that forum is there for you to use however you like, and that's it. This is literally all you need to get started. 100%. And to this day, this is pretty much all I still use, about 70% of the time. I handle some diagnostic stuff now. All these tools that you'll be using if you're coming in, like let's say you're coming in at like a level C, you're going to be mostly doing PDIs. You're going to be doing light diagnostic work, pretty much diagnostic work that isn't going to require like a scan tool or a fuel gauge or a pressure test kit or anything like that. But for the most part, you'll be doing like visual stuff or bench testing or electrical with a multimeter. Like you won't be doing a whole lot of like super in-depth diagnostic work. So I hope this video helps you out. If you enjoyed the video, please share it with your friends and subscribe to the channel. And I really hope this helps you newer guys coming into the field kind of get your feet wet. It's a very, very difficult field. There's a lot of stuff, while this video is being posted, there's a lot of other stuff going on with the field. I'm glad I'm out of the field now and I'm starting to do it for myself, because there's a lot of drama in it. I'm not going to get into it. That's not what I like to get into. Other people can go and complain about that on their channels. But it's a really good idea to get in, get your feet wet, buy your tools in cash, kind of build your tool cart as you go. That way you can see if this is really something for you. And that way, like later down the road, you're not like, crap, I'm stuck in this now. I have to stay in it because I have no other skills. The best, if it comes to it, look at the positive way. You just got yourself a bunch of tools and now you can do stuff at the house and you're good to go. So with that, I thank you guys again for sticking around all the way through. I'll see you guys on the next video. Go ahead and comment down below like one tool that you use like every day. Not like a 10mm or anything like that, but kind of like not a specialty tool, but you know, a tool that isn't super for everyday use. For me, it's definitely the my big impact. I use this every freaking day. And don't forget to take 5 minutes to do something kind for somebody tomorrow or today, and I'll see you guys all later. Bye-bye.